for a long time, because of where I grew up and how I grew up, like, it wasn't something that I even thought of as a possibility. And so I was kind of going through my life. I always had a boyfriend, sometimes several. There was like a situation in kindergarten where we had to have a class meeting because apparently I had made all the little boys in the class my boyfriend at the same time. And I remember we were sitting, in the circle as the class, and the teacher was like trying to explain to us why I couldn't have every boy in the class be my boyfriend at the same time, which I just thought was ludicrous. And at least in my head, the story goes that she was like, you can't have them all as your boyfriend. And I went around the circle and went, do you want to be my boyfriend? Do you want to be my boyfriend? Do you want to be my boyfriend? And they were all like, mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't see the problem. At which point I think my parents got a call. But you know what I mean? Like for me, like I had older sisters, like having a boyfriend was just like what you did. It wasn't necessarily about romance. Obviously I'm in kindergarten, you know what I mean? But even through high school, I dated boys, but there was always like a lot that didn't feel quite right. And there were times, like I remember being in 4th grade and just like having massive, idol worshiping crushes on girls that in retrospect, I'm like, I think that was a little bit more intense than would be for most little girls. Like, okay, I get it. That's what that was about a little bit, and then unfortunately for me, like it crept in as like a fear of something I might be that I could not accept, was so afraid of, like, especially, I grew up in Indiana and there's a lot of, influences that would tell you that it was really wrong and bad and evil, and so I spent a lot of time being just terrified that it might be true about me, without even completely understanding what that would mean, just feeling like there was something wrong with me, So then when I went to college at a liberal East Coast school, and I'd already started thinking about it, probably junior and senior, the short answer is junior or senior year of high school, I probably really started figuring it out, because I had a boyfriend that I really respected and loved and thought was great, but I still didn't completely feel right about it, and I was starting to be attracted to my friends in a way that was like, I want to kiss that person, and I don't know what that means, and I didn't have a lot of people, I didn't have anyone to talk to about that. I remember even having a therapist at the time that I asked about it, and she completely shut me down. Like, I'm not gay, I can help you with that. Like, really screwed up messages, So then I went to a more liberal college, but I was thinking about it, in the back of my head, and I was finally in a place where I could say out loud, like, I think I'm gonna go to that LGBT meeting, just be the cue, the questioning, just see what it's about, and I met some really open-minded people who didn't care, who I might be attracted to, and just were about like figuring out who they were too, and that was really freeing and awesome. Came out to my family when I was 20, when I had my first girlfriend, and we were saying I love you and all that kind of stuff. I realized like I didn't want to be in a position where I didn't have anything to talk to my mom about, because I was having this huge relationship that I wasn't sharing, and I had decided, well, I'm not gonna do that. I want, if she asks or it comes up, like I don't want to be in a position where we can't have a conversation because I'm hiding something huge from her. Like I'm in love with this person, that's a big deal. So I told her over the phone, unfortunately, and she was not very happy about it because I'm bajillions of miles away and telling her something that she has no control over. But it took several years for my mom to be okay. But, because she's open-minded, she's a very caring person, but when it came to her kid, I think it was just too scary for her. She had all these ideas about how hard my life would be, and then like, as she saw how much happier I was, just overall, just general weight lifted off my shoulders. Like, I have family members, my aunts and, stuff who will just say like, you're just a happier version of yourself. Like, we don't care who you're in love with. Like, it's great to see you feeling this good, which I would never have even noticed, So it was definitely mixed, but like we had lots of conversations, and I have 2 older sisters who refused to let that conversation die or not happen, that kept pushing to say like, we've got to talk about it. Like you've got to be okay with this, Mom and Dad, like they were really on my side if there were sides. So, and my dad, of course, infamously said, well, sex is a funny thing. And then I didn't hear anything for like a year. And then he was like, well, dads understand, because to begin with, they like girls, which was like all he really ever said for a long time. But, and we'll love you no matter what. Thank you, Dad, which was huge. Right away. We will love you no matter what. you know, which I believe they both were feeling and meant. It was really good to hear, even though it did take a couple years for us to all kind of be cool with it. I was in a sorority. It was my sophomore year of college. You know, I'd already joined all my little groups, and my sorority sisters were fantastic and definitely never ever hesitated to let me have a female date to a formal or anything like that. And like, I wasn't in like a hippy dippy, quote unquote, you know, I was in a sorority full of awesome, intelligent, smart, beautiful, fabulous women, but it was a sorority. But they were 100% totally fine with, you know, whoever it was that I was going to be, and that was really freaking cool. When I went home, I did have some resistance. I didn't feel very comfortable, you know, with a lot of people that I'd known from high school. Now that I'm more secure in being like a gay lady, I find that really most people don't really have a problem with it. And there's lots of people I was friends with in high school who have found me on Facebook or have emailed me and been like, hey, I saw your stand-up clip, or like, you know, and there's none of that judgment. But definitely when I first came out, like when it was still being whispered about and I wasn't talking about it, then those people who did want to gossip about it, I felt like had the power to do so. And there were a couple of moments where it'd be like, so-and-so said such and such about you. That felt really crappy, you know, but the more confident I became and the more out I became, those people may still be there, but they disappeared as far as I knew. You know what I mean? My mom always said, you know, people only have as much power in your life as you give them, which certainly was true in that case. And plus, who cares? I don't even live in Indiana anymore. Like, I love the people who find me and who I get to see when I'm home, but like, really, it doesn't, you know, so that was hard for at first, but yeah, definitely like, I don't feel that anymore, you know. I would say be kind to yourself. There's no right or wrong way to be figuring it out, you know, and there's a lot of pressure to identify one way or another, but like you're gonna feel a lot of things and you owe it to yourself to like figure out what they mean and what makes you happy, bottom line. And we all gain from being honest with ourselves in a way. But take care of yourself, be nice to yourself, and don't feel like you've got to do it one certain way. You know, and it's true, like, I knew on some level that I needed to get someplace where I felt like I could be myself. You know, and that really freed me up to come out, and little by little, every step out I've made has made my life feel better. Whether it was, you know, doing the first couple years of my life as an actor, as a comedian, trying not to be talking about my personal life, trying not to come off gay or whatever, versus when I decided, yeah, I'm gonna do stand-up and I'm gonna talk about my personal life and I'm gonna do a big old gay vlog. Like, every step of the way, I have felt 100 times better the more out I am. And it's not necessarily even about politics, it's just about owning who I am and being who I am, and knowing that, like, if somebody knows me and likes me, they know me and like me. You know, and I had such a hard time with my grandma for years because my family said, don't tell her, she won't understand. Don't tell her, you'll kill her. Don't tell her, it'll break her heart. Don't tell her, don't tell her, don't tell her. And like, I thought I could still have a relationship with her if I wasn't telling her. And then little by little, I shut down so much because I believed that if she knew who I was, she wouldn't still love me. And then I realized I didn't have a relationship with her anyway because I wasn't giving her the chance to either let me down and not love me, or to maybe do something else, maybe to accept it. And ultimately, when I did tell her, which took me years, I was so out to everyone else, and it was so hard. And as soon as we had that conversation and she said she still loved me and it was okay, I've never felt anything better. And I felt so great, sad that I hadn't done it earlier, you know, but just such a weight was lifted, you know. And I know that there are times when, you know, maybe it was about timing. Maybe I had to wait that long to tell her because things needed to happen in her life to where she would be ready to hear it, which is something that she said, like, certainly, like, you know, a few years ago I wouldn't have thought I would accept this, but such and such happened and this happened and I met so-and-so who came out to my husband, and that made us open our eyes about who gay people were. We didn't think we knew any of them. So thank you, random guy who was a pen pal with my grandma's husband. Like, he came out to my step grandpa, and that opened their hearts to the idea of who gay people could be, that they could like them. Like, how could that guy know when he wrote that letter that he was gonna open the door to me? You just never know. And the more you are out in your life, even if there is somebody who's important to you that you feel like you can't yet, or if you feel like you're in a position where it's not safe to be out everywhere, you know, little by little and step by step, like, that guy wrote a letter and it changed my life in a way. You know, he was definitely a part of that. I don't know, that's... So anyway, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, take your time. But find a way that you can be yourself. Do not sit there and say you don't deserve happiness. Do not sit there and try to be something you're not to fit somebody else's idea of what your life should be, because you've got so much more to offer when you are free to love the way that your heart is designed. So much more to offer. Also, nobody marries their first girlfriend. You're not, it's not gonna happen. I mean, it might, but really, get out there and date.